Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mace. I'm coming to you from North America, but the good part, I'm in Canada. We're checking out American versus European suburbs and why the US suburbs suck. I'm trying to think right now, did I grow up in a suburb? I wouldn't really call it a suburb because it's just too small to be a suburb. Like, the population was very, very tiny. 9,000? I don't know, something like that. The city next door to us, which really the whole thing is called a valley, but the entire population of the valley, I think, is 75,000. And I didn't really think of it as a suburb, or if it was a suburb, we had mixed use areas within it. We had schools within it. We had grocery stores. All of that was kind of mixed in with the houses. So, and then my school, I lived equidistant from all three of my schools. It was great. So I walked to my elementary school and then I walked to middle school. I walked to high school. It was great times. And then I would go play hockey afterwards. All right, let's check out this video. Make sure to leave a comment down below and subscribe if you haven't done so.
This is a typical American suburban street. It's wide, the houses are very far apart and look mostly the same. There is barely anything on the well-manicured lawns, post boxes, a few trees or bushes, and the occasional fire hydrant. Now compare this to a suburb in Leipzig, Germany. What differences do you notice?
So yeah, that first example that he gave doesn't look too much differently than suburbs that I grew up in, I suppose, but a little bit differently, I would say. We lived on the end of a cul-de-sac. We had a park next to us.
There is stuff around you. The streetscape is very diverse and mentally engaging. In comparison, the American suburb looks like a desolate urban wasteland. Also, in the European suburb,
I would somewhat disagree. I wouldn't say it looks like a wasteland. I mean, there's trees. They could improve, I think, what do you want to call it? That diversity of aesthetic here, but
also in the European suburb, the street is narrow, there is a 30 km/h speed limit, and the buildings are close together. Do notice the tram tracks. In this suburb, you can live car-free. If you want to go to the center, you can either take the tram or ride your bike for 20 minutes on dedicated bike lanes.
That is something that I wish our governments, and I'll try to advocate for that, we had more dedicated bike lanes. Because I want to ride my bike around. I think it would be great for my health and mental well-being as well. Just be outside more and more. I bike a lot, but it's usually only in the trails in the forest, and that's great, but I'd like to bike to work, but it just doesn't feel that safe.
Or take the S-Bahn, because there's also a train station. In the American suburb, you have no option but to drive. Head out onto the busiest road, a horrifying mix of street and road, onto the jammed highway, and after an hour you'll be in the center, searching for a parking spot.
So I don't know where this video is from, but yeah, it looks terrible.
How about going to a restaurant? In the European suburb, there are dozens of different, unique, local restaurants reachable on foot, by bike, or public transit. In the American suburb, you're an hour walk away from a chain restaurant next to a busiest road. If you want to eat, you gotta get in your car.
That is a problem.
What if you have children? In this European suburb, there are 3 schools close by. Kids can walk or bike there on their own and learn to be independent early on. In the American suburb, a child could get to school after 35 minutes of walking, mostly along a busy arterial road, also having to cross a 6-lane road. And somehow, there's no crosswalk, so kids have to be driven to school every day by mommy and daddy.
Like I said at the beginning of the video, I walked.
The same goes for sports. Over here, kids can take a 10-minute walk to the nearest sports field or a 3-minute bike ride on calm, safe streets on their own. In the US, it's a 40-minute march through a maze of streets partially along a major transit artery. Gotta get in the SUV and let mommy drive you to practice. This is where the term soccer mom originates from, by the way. People lament today's children for being overly dependent on their parents. But in such neighborhoods, children don't have a choice but to be dependent. Otherwise, they cannot go anywhere.
Yeah, dependency on vehicles is very North American, I feel, and it sucks. It's sad, especially for kids. They can't drive, right? So they become dependent on either parents or friends or people driving them around, and they can become kind of bitter over that. It's annoying. It can create friction between relationships because, oh, I can't take you, I need to go here. and they get...
are stuck at home. In
Luckily, I
contrast,
didn't have
in
that
European
problem.
suburbs-
I'm going to say right now, like, luckily, I didn't have that problem. So I guess where I grew up, I was pretty lucky. And there's been a lot of online sentiment recently of, like, people being very, very against others moving here. And it's kind of the way they frame it as, oh, you know, the rest of Canada has discovered how amazing where we live is, and how temperate the climate is, and how uncrowded it is, and how much nature we have that's so close by. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's everything that you need. It's beautiful. So people are moving here. And in my mind, that shouldn't necessarily be a problem, right? Population is not necessarily an issue, and people complain about housing and they complain about overcrowdedness. But the fact is, the governments need to, if it was handled efficiently and we advocated our governments enough to create proper infrastructure, proper social systems, all of that, it would work fine. It's not a big deal if you have more people, more jobs, more revenue growth, and more, hopefully, better services for everybody. You know, better community, but people don't necessarily see it that way.
Kids can be let out safely to move around on their own, to go to places they want to, without the need for the mommy and daddy taxi service.
Mommy and daddy taxi service.
Do note that yellow residential building on the left. That is a mid-rise. European suburbs tend to be a mixture of those and single or multi-family homes, like on this street. Zoning in US suburbs only allows for single-family homes, and they are usually placed very far apart, leading to low density and long distances. This makes public transportation non-viable. Over here in Europe, hundreds of people live within walking distance of this tram stop. In the US, if you put a tram stop here, you'd have a few dozen people living within walking distance. Meaning, even if you built public transit here, almost nobody would take it, because no matter how you build it, people would be too far away from it. If you're half an hour away on foot from the nearest tram stop, you'll take your car instead. And people do. So giant highways had to be built, rammed right into the city, usually demolishing non-white neighborhoods in the process. The end result was mass motorization all across America, constant traffic jams, noise and pollution, but not for the suburbanites. It was the urban dwellers, particularly those who were poor, who had to live near high traffic areas in cheap, low-quality housing. The suburbs also became a growth Ponzi scheme, where income from the suburbs couldn't cover future infrastructure overhauls, so the city had to expand and sell new properties constantly to get enough money to maintain what they already have. Not Just Bikes did a great video about this, link in the description. The suburbs and car-centric development were useful political tools in the 1950s to enforce a Christian conservative, white nationalist hierarchy within American society, where white men are on top, women are at home, fully dependent on their husbands, and where all resources are channeled towards the white middle and upper class in the form of billions in state subsidies. And the rest of society, poor people, non-whites, were left to fend for themselves in decaying urban centers, sucked dry financially by the parasitic suburbs around them. Car-centric planning became a weapon of choice for conservatives in order to maintain the unequal status quo. And this phenomenon isn't unique to America. In Europe, as our cities transition away from cars, the opponents of this change are almost always conservatives. While the incumbent Paris mayor campaigned on eliminating 50,000 parking spaces, her conservative opponent, who looks frankly diabolical even by French standards, wanted to halt decongestion.
Diabolical even by French standards. Wow. Yeah, he went deep into that, like the economical and social effects of the suburbs in America and how they did create that separation of class and race.
In Prague, a city overrun by cars, conservatives keep screaming about the cyclo-fascists ruining the city after a shadow is painted somewhere. Meanwhile, conservative district mayors are busy turning sidewalks into parking lots. In Madrid, the conservative city leadership cancelled the ultra-low emission zones, leading to local protests to bring them back. In Budapest, we have Orbán's far-right conservatives screaming about how there is a witch hunt against drivers by the new center-left mayor, and complaining how in inner-city Budapest it's almost faster to walk now than to drive. Even in Germany, Bavarian conservatives are dumping money into highways while letting the rail network fall into disrepair. As a rule of thumb, in every city with decongestion measures, you'll also find conservatives screaming about the war on cars, the symbol of hierarchy in transportation, where the affluent suburban minority gets to occupy 80% of public space inside cities, compared to the more egalitarian space use of public transit and bicycles. God forbid you have to get out of your giant SUV of death and get on a tram with the peasants. Of course, upholding the conservative hierarchy isn't why suburbs are built today in the US. It's mostly just a necessary continuation of the Ponzi scheme that began with the first suburbs. Also, it's due to faulty zoning codes not allowing for mid-rise developments that would actually make more money for the city, increase density, and make public transit viable. In Europe, our suburbs are mixed, with both mid-rises, single and multi-family homes.
The mixed use that makes the big difference, having multi-family units, having apartment buildings, having all of these different things within those areas make transit viable as
They're
an
an
option.
organic part of the city and contribute fairly to the local budget. There is also subsidized, affordable public transit. All in all, it's more egalitarian. And if the US situation sounds depressing in contrast, as an American, there are things you can do to potentially help change things. If there is a local transit riders union, go join it. Look if there are any initiatives on the ballot for traffic calming, bike lanes, etc. Show up to your local town hall meetings and advocate for zoning reform, ending parking minimums, and so on. If you're persistent enough, your ideas will be heard, and you can help push America back towards sensible, fair, more egalitarian urban planning, one neighborhood at a time. That's what I would do if I were you. Thank you for watching. Oh, and by the way, there is now a new membership option for my channel.
Sadly, like,
So if you wish
I
to
don't
support me
see-
making content like this, please consider becoming a button. And I'll be
I don't know if I see the states being able to turn that around, like that super Americanized suburbia, and especially in those big cities. Like, I don't know, maybe they can improve things, but Europe certainly, in many cases, seems to do it much better. And hey, maybe I should move to Europe. Hey, no, I love where I live. It's great, but it is true. Like, I'm not reliant on a vehicle to do like groceries and to go to work, but I couldn't walk to both. And I certainly, you know what? I could take the bus, but I don't really want to take the bus. Because it only comes every 30 minutes or every hour. Like, it's incredibly infrequent. So anyways, see you all in the next one. Peace out. Leave a comment down below.